All right, guys, welcome to episode 13 of the Creator Corner podcast. And today we are joined with Jade Sprake. She is the co founder of Scale 50, the author of the book Gap Year to Six Figures. You guys can get that on Amazon right now. Use my affiliate code, please. I'm kidding. But and she's also an AI tech consultant and the head of business development at a local handyman. Welcome to the podcast,
Thank
Jade.
you.
And
Welcome,
it's a
welcome.
pleasure to have you on the podcast. So, yeah, how's your day been so far?
Good. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been like honestly, I woke up at like 10:30 and just came right here. Like I was like, this is like the first morning I've slept in like weeks, and I was like, oh, what a great day. I get to go be on a podcast. This is my first podcast
Okay.
ever, which is exciting. Yeah, good day.
Great. So, okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
So now let's take it back. No. Let's take it back, right?
Okay.
Entrepreneur at 20,
One.
21.
Yeah.
21.
Oh my god.
Without
Just
a
made me
college
age check
degree.
myself.
Yeah,
21.
without a college degree. So now
Uh-huh.
that's exciting stuff. You
Mhm.
got to tell us did you always have that entrepreneurial spark ever since a young age? What got you into this?
I would say like yeah, like my dad was a like business coach from like the day I can remember. Like my parents have always owned their own companies, and he used to like hold these like huge events, and like he's spoken with like he used to host like these huge seminars. And he used to share stages with like Tony Robbins and like Richard Branson and Jack Canfield. And yeah, I don't know, like I used to always go to all of his events since I was like literally like 7 years old till like 15. Like I always went to every event and like skipped school for it. So watching him and my mom like run that company and like build it from like nothing, I think had a huge influence on me like wanting to be a business owner.
Mhm.
I remember when I was like 10 years old, like I was like I really really want to be like I want to own a company. Actually like stressed myself out. Like I had like a midlife crisis at 10 because I was like I need to own a company because all of these people that was like surrounded in my life like with my parents all owned businesses and were like
Mhm.
super successful, that I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm failing in my life at 10 because I don't own a company. And then yeah, I don't know, like it made me, I started a company when I was 10 company. It was like I sold cupcakes, and it failed really miserably because I wanted to sell them at my dad's events because he had events of like thousands of people. And I was like, okay, like I'm like cute and I'm sitting in the back of the room and I'm like 10 and I'm selling cupcakes. Like it'd be a great scenario. And then we got there and the hotel was like, you can't bring in outside food. And I was really sad. And then I started like freaking out. My mom was like, it's just like a 10-year-old girl. And I had like 200 cupcakes made or something. And I don't know. That was like my first like attempt at business, I guess I would say, which is
Right.
like kind of doesn't count. But then I spent like all of like my like high school life being like, I need to start a company. I need to start a company. And then I never knew what I wanted to do. And I focused too much on like knowing what I wanted to do. And then I just like would get stressed out and then be like, I don't know what to do with my future. And I would do nothing. But yeah, I guess like watching my parents like run companies just made me like
Mhm.
totally like click into that level of thinking. And like I've done all of their mindset training, all of their business, like every seminar, all the coaching, like so yeah.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. And, well, that's a lot of stuff since you were 10.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But, yeah, so I'm curious, like, when you saw your dad doing these events and,
Mhm.
your mom was there with you, like, what was going through your mind at the time, like, as a 10-year-old? Like,
Yeah.
what was your biggest takeaway from all these events combined, I'd say?
I think it was just like that there was like the biggest takeaway was that there was no other way of living.
Right.
Like when you're watching and like all of these successful people and your parents are successful and then like they know people who are like living the lives that like everybody like dreams of, or like living those like I don't know, all the goals and everything. And like I don't know, when you're 10 it just kind of like paints you of like why would I want to live any other way. Like I think it only solidified that like I wouldn't want to like go to school and like get a 9 to 5 and then just retire. Like it just made that type of life super unappealing
Yeah.
because you just watch everybody like have these insane lives that it's like why would I like want to do anything else, even like being that young. But still like it clicked really early for me that I was like there's just no other way I would live.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm gonna pop up the questions that we have for
Okay.
you. Okay. Let's talk about your college degree,
Mhm.
or in this case, lack thereof, which
Yeah.
is amazing, might I add, right? So, without a college degree, it's all good.
Mhm.
Yeah. How did you take this call to be so bold and like just go out on your own? Because
Mhm.
it's the path less chosen, right?
Yeah.
And it's a risk for sure.
Mhm.
I'm sure you were debating this when you were like 17, 18, probably, and all your friends were playing
Yeah.
college. So what made you,
Mhm.
do this and be like, I don't need a degree. I'm gonna stand out and I'm gonna kill it.
Yeah. Oh, so when I was in high school, like there was like that phase when everybody was like applying to university, like that, like I don't know, you're in like grade 11
Yes.
winter or
Yes.
something, and everybody starts applying to university. And I had gone through high school without ever considering what I would do
Right.
after. Like I was like I love high school. I had a really good high school
Right.
experience that I was like, I never want to leave high school. I love it here. And then all my friends started applying to university. So I actually applied to university because I was like, this is what everybody's doing. And I didn't tell my parents I applied to university because I thought that they would be mad at me because they weren't anti-university, but they were just like, if you don't have a reason to go, like don't go. Like if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or like anything that needs like a degree, like
Go for it.
go for it.
Yes.
But I wanted to, like I applied for like a economics degree or like a business degree. I can't even remember. And then my like parents like found out that I applied for university and they were like, why didn't you tell us? And I was like, I don't know. Like I thought you wouldn't want me to go. And they were like, well, to be honest, my dad or both my parents are a big believer in like the school of life philosophy that they were like, if you want to go to school to like go learn business, you might as well like learn business in life. And then I was like, I don't have a way to do that. And then they were like, okay, why don't you, this is like my dad was talking to me and he was like, why don't you like shadow me on like every meeting, everything, and like commit to it for like a year. And if you tell me you learn nothing, you can go to school. And I was like, okay. I wasn't like dying to go to school.
Right.
I just was like, okay, like it makes sense. Like if I don't learn anything like in the real world, then I'll try the whole school
Mhm.
thing.
100%.
I ended up starting a company when I was in high school. I sold crystals, so I sold like rocks online.
Okay.
My sister, it's like kind of a long story of how like we got into like selling crystals.
Mhm.
My sister is like super spiritual and she loves like crystals and like energy and like mental wellness with like rocks, I guess. And she loved that stuff. And then I really wanted to like always own a business. So I was like, I'll do your accounting, I'll do your website, I'll do all the stuff you don't want to do. And then you can sell rocks. And we were like, agreed. So me and her partnered together. I was like 17 and she was 19. And so I ran that when I was in grade 12.
Right.
And we did like pretty well for like a
Right.
17-year and 19-year-old. And then she ended up quitting like 8 months into us running it because she was like, I don't want to own a company. And then I quit because I was like, I don't care about rocks. Oh, like I was like,
Yeah.
it's so bad to like not care about the thing you're selling. But I was
Right.
like, I just don't like, it's not my thing. And that's when I was like, okay, dad, like now I'll shadow you. And then I shadowed him for a year. Went to every meeting, every seminar, everything. And I ended up going to a conference with him in Ireland. And I don't know if you know who Jack Canfield
I do.
is,
Yeah.
who he wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Mhm.
And he's been like so my dad and him are really good friends. And
Okay.
he had this conference called the Transformational Leadership Council in Ireland. And my dad is a part of it. And so we went to Ireland to go to that, and I was like, I would love to come with you. I mean, also like Ireland,
Yeah.
like I want to go to Ireland.
Free vacation. Yeah.
And when I was there was a guy who named Mike Canings, and he spoke on stage about AI for businesses. And this is before like ChatGPT came out, or like it was a like
It was a thing,
fad
yeah. It was a
online, I
thing,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah. And so he spoke about AI for businesses and like automating tech. And I had never been to school, but weirdly, like everything he was saying, like just clicked. Like I was like, oh, I get this. Like weirdly enough, I get this. And his talk was like 20 minutes long. And I was like, this is so cool. And then because his talk was so interesting and everybody in the audience was like really confused,
Yeah.
he was like, I'll be doing an extra bonus session at the end of the day for 1 hour. And then so whoever wants to go to it, like, and keep talking about AI stuff, we can do that. And then at the end of the day, I go to that like ballroom that he's doing that like extra bonus talk in.
Yeah.
There's like 40 people in the room. and it's like a little bit less informal, and he like it's more of a conversation matter like around a room, and he's like talking about AI. And then like before I know it, like I start asking a bunch of questions, and then me and him are just having a conversation, and then there's like 40 people watching us. And I had never learned anything about AI. I actually didn't like AI when I was like talking to him, because I thought it was like scary and gonna destroy the world, and like everybody was gonna like reap the like all negative things about AI. Like I had this like horrible negative perception about AI, which is why I found his perspective so interesting, because I'd never thought about it in a positive way. And yeah, anyway, we were like talking, and then by the end of like us talking, instead of like 1 hour of that bonus session, it ended up being 5 hours,
Oh,
because we
wow.
were just like, it was so interesting. And then when that session like finally ended, um, I had a bunch of people who were like listening to me and Mike like talk back and forth come up to me and be like, "Can I hire you to like do my AI work?" And I was like, "Oh, like, like I don't do this. Like, I sell rocks. Like, I don't do this." And they were like, "No, like you know what you're talking about. Like you sure? Like, I would love to pay you," because Mike was like an expensive guy to work with,
Yeah.
and I feel like they just wanted like it sounded like I knew what I was talking about. And then I was like, wait, there's kind of an opportunity here. And then yeah, I just like got to the airport after Ireland. I was sitting down with my dad, and I was like, I really think I could start an AI company. And then he was like, okay. And I was like, okay. And then I planned out the entire thing in like the Ireland airport. And then I came home, learned everything I possibly could about AI from Mike. Um, or from his session. I did like a bunch of like, like anybody learns YouTube, whatever,
Right,
like
yeah.
just really diving deep,
Research, yeah.
just researching. And then I started an AI company where I did like AI coaching for people.
Okay.
And that went like, I would say like pretty good. I had like 40 clients that I was working with, which was really good. And I did it for about 3 months. I also got like random clients where I also at the same time I was coaching people on how to build Shopify stores. Like that was
Okay.
like something I was
Yeah.
also doing on the side when I started getting into the AI stuff, because I just met some people who were like, "Do you know how to build Shopify stores?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And then so I was like doing that. And then I went to another event with my dad in Florida like 3 months later. And when we were there, I met this guy named Peter Swain, and he owned an AI company that was doing the same model as my AI company, but he had been owning it for a year, and I'd been doing mine for 3 months.
Yeah.
And he like developed Yelp.com before it was Yelp, and he was one of the first app developers for Steve Jobs at Apple. Like he was like a really really cool
guy.
tech. I mean,
Yeah.
he still is a really cool tech guy.
Yeah.
And I worked, and then I went up to him and I was like, "You don't know me, but I'm gonna be your protege. I'm gonna work with you. If you need me to move to the UK, I will." He's British. He like lives in the
Yeah.
UK.
Yeah.
I was like, "I will. You might think I'm crazy. That's okay."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "But you're gonna hire me, and I'm gonna be your protege." And then he was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Oh shit, okay." Like he agreed. And then he was like, "But I'll only consider hiring you if you can be in San Diego in 48 hours and you attend my AI event, and I can see like your skills." And I was like, "Okay." So I flew to San Diego from Florida. I was supposed to go home with my dad, and then I was like, "Okay, Dad, I'm going to San Diego. Like, peace." And I'd never like traveled alone, so
Right.
that was like new. I was 19, and I went to San Diego to his event. And day one of his event, I did all the work that he like taught that day. And then as a side project, I decided like I could take all the content from day one. I'm going to say this in a really simple way. I could take all the content from day one, put it into something, and make a clone of him. So that thing could then teach day one.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I basically
shit.
I cloned him
Okay.
at his own event.
Okay.
And before like you could do that easily.
Right.
So it took like a lot of work.
Okay.
And then by the end of the day, I gave him my computer and I said, "Peter, meet Peter." And he literally was like, "Who the hell are you? Like, what? Like, you're just like this 19-year-old kid who's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like doing all these, like, he was like, "That's insane. Like, I've never met somebody who like understood this tech so quickly." And then I was like, "Oh, I don't mean to brag, but yeah, I felt really good about it." And then he like loved it. And then day two of the event, he personally texted me and was like, "Can you come in early today?" And I was like, "Oh, that's it. He hates me. Whatever. Like, oh, this is over." And then I came in early, and he had a contract for me to work with him for 3 months on like a like a let's see how 3 months goes
Mhm.
kind of thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And I called my dad and I was like freaking out and I was like super excited about it. And anyway, I did day 2. And then day 3, he texted me and was like, can you come in early again? And I was like, that's it, I'm fired. Like, that's it, it's already done.
The ups and
And
downs.
I went in early for day 3, and this is the last day of his event. And he was like, okay, so we have like a 40-minute slot in the middle of our day and we need to fill it. So I would love for you to go on stage and talk about what you think AI is going to do for your generation. I want you to talk about like how you think it's going to affect companies, your like how you got into business, like blah, 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 who you are. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, you're telling me I just told you have to go on stage and like publicly speak and your only answer is okay. And I was like, yeah, I like kind of love it. And then I spoke on stage at his event. And then I went home and just started working for him. And then that was like in my entire like 2024 was like working with him in in the UK. So
Holy shit.
So
a very long answer to your story.
that was
No, that
that
was
was crazy.
But that was like the wrap of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind of how I got to like where I am now.
No, when you were telling me about like day 1, day 2, day 3, I was just like emotional roller coaster. Yeah, that's what she's going through right now.
No,
and
yeah.
and it's like crazy. Like typically, if someone's been told to like go and speak on stage to a bunch of people they don't know,
Mhm.
the anxiety hits them. Typically,
Yeah.
that's when the public speaking anxiety.
I just don't think I have like anxiety like that. Like I
I-
have different kinds of anxiety, but like
100%, yeah.
public speaking is not one of them.
100%,
You
yeah.
need to be like extroverted
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
do this business thing because I think it just revolves around you like building your network, talking
Yeah.
to people, pitching ideas. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's such an important skill to have.
Mhm.
It's all about like the
But-
tonalities and
Oh, 100%.
like it's just the way you present yourself. At the end
Right.
of the
I think
day.
it's also just like a huge confidence thing. Like I could
Exactly.
have been up there and been like, I don't know what to say. But I was like, even like doing that with confidence and being
Right.
like, hey guys, I have no idea what I'm going to talk
Exactly.
about. But let's just like, I don't
Let's
know, like,
wing it, yeah.
let's just wing it. And like, it's like the transparency and confidence at the same time. Because I was like, I literally went on stage and was like, so I'm 19. Like, hey.
Who else?
And then I literally remember being like, anybody in the crowd have any questions? And then people started asking me questions about their kids and like
Yeah.
what their kids should do. And then I actually was like, oh, okay, like now I know what to talk about.
Okay.
But the minute he was like, I'll just throw you on stage, I was like, oh, okay.
Fair
Like,
enough.
as long as you have the confidence about it, I was like, okay, no
Oh,
problem.
100%.
I have a question with this
Mhm.
AI thing, right? So you've been in this industry for a while now,
Mhm.
clearly. Worked with some of the best people in the world. I think the term AI is like oversaturated these days, like because everyone just slaps it onto anything and they'll
Yeah.
be like, yo, look, I'm selling an AI product,
Mhm.
like buy it.
Mhm.
And you said it yourself, like, it's a fad these days.
Yeah.
How would you say it's changed over time? Like when you first got into it before ChatGPT, stuff like that, they were like a thing. You said you got into it way earlier. What is the true meaning of AI? Like, how has it changed over time?
Oh, I feel like in the beginning of it, it was like super, just really like a really cool tech to work with. And like you had to know what you were doing. And like we developed some really cool systems like with AI doing like, I don't know, we used to build like all these cool tech things. I feel like now it's less techy because I don't know, like I feel like it's yeah, AI I feel like is like slapped on everything now.
Yeah.
And like people are like, "Oh, I'm AI coaches and I do all these things."
Yeah.
And I think there's a level to it where people really get what's going on, and then there's a huge fraction of people who like slap AI on everything and then like say like, "Oh, I have an AI this and AI that." But like one of the things that we used to say at our old company was we think
I think I have to like put the mic on.
oh,
Yeah.
sorry. We think that like when the computer came out, you could buy a desktop screen and you could buy a keyboard, and the keyboard would say like this keyboard is compatible with and then like the type of
Mhm.
computer.
Yeah.
But if you were to go to the store now and buy a keyboard, you would never question that your keyboard couldn't connect to any computer you could
Mhm.
possibly buy.
Yeah.
So we think, or this is more like this like comes directly from like Peter and the team that we worked with, is like we would think that AI right now is in a stage of like, oh, only compatible with this, only compatible with this. But one day it's going to be universal, like the keyboard, where you can be like, AI won't even be a label people slap on things anymore. Like it'll just be like, this is a photo generator. This is a blog generator. This is a website builder. And it won't say like AI website builder,
Yeah.
AI blah, blah, blah. And like, even like when Apple Vision Pros came out, like
Yeah.
those goggles, it
Yeah.
said AI Apple Vision Pros. Nothing about those is AI. Like,
Right.
it's just VR. Like, it's just VR.
Okay.
It's really good VR.
Okay.
Like, but like none of it is like generative or like self like
Learning.
provide yeah self-learning
Yeah.
or like machine learning.
Mhm.
That it's like that's just VR, but like
Right.
they put AI on it and they like sold out of like Vision Pros. But like if you just said that they were like a VR headset, okay, it's Apple, they probably still would have like sold, but like
Yeah.
I don't think it would have like it wouldn't have hit the same way.
100%.
I don't know, I feel like there's just like a little, it's either weird, it's either like you know what you're talking about with AI and you're like really good at it, or you like, I don't know, I think there's like, it's like that same thing as like the drop shipping phase or like
Oh,
the
yeah.
like
Like copywriting.
e-commerce phase,
SMMA
like
and
like
whatnot.
all those
Yeah.
like types of like get rich quick things
Yeah.
Right.
that they can totally work,
Mhm.
but they also can be like totally scammy and weird.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I don't know, like I don't know, it's
No, I get
it's a
that.
weird phase, but
So I guess my question would be like, how can people right now
mhm.
take the most advantage of AI with business, with social media, with whatever they're doing?
Mhm.
Typically entrepreneurs and content creators. How can they take advantage of AI?
I would definitely recommend, like, if you've never opened up ChatGPT, like, whip it open, like, and like use it in really, really creative ways because, like, any AI is only going to be as smart as like the information you're putting into it.
Yeah,
Like, if I
yeah.
typed like write me an essay, like it would write you like the crappiest essay possible, and then people are like, oh, AI sucks. And it's like, well, it didn't know who it was writing it for, what it was supposed to talk about, what like the topics were, what it was supposed to act, what kind of emotion should it convey, what kind of blah blah blah.
100%.
Like you need to really like frame every time you use AI to actually get good results. And I think a lot of business owners just don't use it because they're like, oh, like it's just crappy, like
Right.
my marketing guy is better than this. And I'm not saying he's not or whatever, but like a big thing that we do, or like a big product that we used to do when I worked like with more AI, was we used to make AI versions of people's ideal customers for their business. So like if you owned like, I don't know, let's say like you owned like, oh
Like personas? Is that what you're talking
yeah, like
Right.
we
Okay.
like for
And
example
client
like,
avatars.
okay,
Yeah.
I hate to put it this way because it's gonna be like so salesy, but like for my book, let's
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I made my
Sell
book, yeah.
away. Yeah.
When I made my book, I made an AI version of the ideal person that I'd want to read that book.
Okay.
So that when I was like writing it, I could ask them
But
questions about what this book was like about how they would feel, what they want to know, what kind of like pain would they be going through, like what's like types of things that they would want to like hear from somebody if they were like in this, I don't know, in the state of like not wanting to go to school but like wanting to be successful or not knowing what to do next. So we would like make AI versions of people. I think mine was named like James or something. I don't know. Like I named him. I was being like really creepy about it. And
James.
it was like, okay, like in every chapter, I literally got like James to read every chapter and be like, okay, what's hitting you? What's not? What's resonating? What's not? And then like getting that feedback, which you wouldn't really be able to get, like that technology wasn't available to somebody
Right.
before. So it's like, I don't know, I think it's just being really creative about the
Right.
way you use AI because there's so many things that you can now do that you couldn't do before. Even like for all of your marketing. If you like, even for like a podcast like this, if you were like, I have an ideal type of listener that I want who like is this type of person and like this like, I don't know, gender or this like type of like career, or this is like their age range, then you can like make an AI person. And then like for example, like take the podcast, take like the transcript of it, so like everything we say, put it into your like hypothetical person,
Yeah.
and then be like, so what do you think about the content of the podcast? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What's missing? What's resonating? And then it'll like give you like unbiased feedback back, which I just think is like, that's one thing that we used to do for our clients because it was something that you can like ask like your customers or your like readers or audience like what they want.
Right.
But like there's only so much they'll tell you,
Right.
and not like they're trying to hide anything. They just like, I don't know,
They don't
people
clock it.
they're just like
Yeah.
they're just not like like it's like getting a review. Like you'll just be like, you'll get like the like, oh yeah, it was really good. Like I really liked it. But if you actually like put on a deeper level, it's like, oh, actually, like they really liked it, but one thing that you said or one word you said like didn't resonate with them, and it actually made them kind of be like, oh, I don't know if I agree or if I feel that way or I don't know. But yeah, I just think it's like when you start to like really study how you can use AI for your business, it totally changes. But if you're like, oh, I just want to write a blog post, it's like, oh, like you're like go write your blog post then. Like
Fair enough.
I don't know.
We should do that, by the way.
Yeah, we should
Oh, I can
definitely
help you
get
do it if
yeah,
you're really
thank
cool.
you.
Yeah.
that's pretty fire. But talking about the book as well, gap year to six figures. Have you broken six figures yet?
Okay. So
Want to talk about it?
okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
And I just want to know the story behind you breaking six figures because as a 21-year-old, six figures
That's a big deal.
It's a big
yeah.
deal.
it's a dream for all of us.
It's
to
a big
achieve.
dream. So basically the way that this was written or I guess like worded was it started from me like doing a gap year to then the AI company that we like me and my three like partners ran together last year did $1.8 million in revenue. And like that was like so like it isn't like about like oh I personally like am hitting six figures
Oh,
in
no,
the
no,
bank,
no.
but it was like that feeling of like okay like but we know what it takes to run a
Right.
company that's like doing higher than six figures.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't the like I can't claim to like actually like own that company because I didn't own it, but like the three of us or the four of us ran it together really strongly as a team.
100%.
Like almost like it was like we had the owner and then there was like chief of staff. I can't even remember my job title. It was like I was like the head of like technology and client development or
Right.
something, but there was like four of us that like all ran it.
Okay.
And yeah, it was yeah, I yeah.
No, that's pretty sick. No, so I just wanted to ask that because all
Yeah.
of us looking
I'll put this
and
here.
for our audience who's looking to
Oh.
break six figures on their own,
Yeah.
right? What advice would you give them? How would you say you did it? How would you say, these
Or
are
like-
some do's, some don'ts?
Yeah, like how can they just start?
Yeah.
Like, that's the main thing, right? You just gotta
Just,
start.
just gotta start, but like, learnings, stuff like that.
I would I would say like exactly that. Like you just need to go for it. Like if you're like, "Oh, I have all these goals, but like what if I'm not doing it right? Or what if it's not the right path? Or what if like I don't know, like I feel like people spend way too much time thinking about how to actually like for example, like hit six figures than like actually taking any action towards it. I feel like a lot of people that I've talked to like only ever focus on like the like goal of hitting that thing and then they always consider everything they don't have before actually trying to like I don't know like work towards things or
Right.
start like making steps towards something. It's like all I would say is a big thing about like I guess like yeah monetary goals are great, but I think if you are doing like if you want to make six figures or want to make like I don't know if your goal is to make $100,000 one year,
Yeah.
that's great, but I don't think you like I think there's a big part of like making money where you have to actually love what you're doing. Like you have to like want to help the people or like when I did the AI company, I actually didn't care how much I was being paid because I just loved what I was doing. But when I was in the crystal company, I like only wanted to make money. And I
Right.
think that's actually the difference of why the crystal company
Fail.
like
Didn't fail.
it didn't yeah.
Sorry, didn't fail.
No,
But,
but it was like, but why the crystal company just didn't have any like, it just didn't get to where it should have been
Yeah.
because like I didn't have any passion
Right.
towards it. But when I like loved what I was doing with the AI company, the money just like abundantly came behind it because I was like, I actually want to help people. And I think it's finding something. It's kind of hard to be like, oh, just find something you love doing because that's like, okay, like that's like a crippling thing everybody who's in their 20s wants to find is like the thing that they love to do. But when you find something that you actually like love what you're doing and you love helping people solve like a pain point they have, like things just flow. But when you only focus around like making money, it's a lot harder to like try and hit those goals because you don't actually care about the people, you just
Absolutely.
care about the money they can bring to you.
Right.
100%.
I think it's like a mindset switch that like
100%.
you need to find that switch to then actually start working toward like then the money just flows. But I think if you find the thing and you like want to help people and like okay like want to help people is like okay if you want to start a shoe company and you genuinely want people to have like comfier better running shoes like that's like a really like you care. But if you're like oh I want to start a shoe company because I want to make a bunch of money, it's like okay well you're in it for the wrong reason. Like
Right.
and people like I don't know if you guys are like energy people, but like I'm a little on that spectrum where
So
I'm
am I,
like I'm
yeah.
so
Feel the vibe.
I'm
Yeah.
so like people can feel when you're being genuine and when
Mhm.
you energetically are like I actually care. And I could tell people would be like, that girl doesn't care about selling me rocks because I didn't. But like
Yeah.
if I was like helping them with AI, I would like be like if our Zoom call was like an hour and then like they were like, "Oh, but I have one more question." I'd be like, "Oh, we can just stay on for 30 more minutes. Like I love talking to you. Like I didn't even care. Like I was like I just
Right.
love what I'm doing. Like this is so awesome." I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
totally. I totally get that. And like when you're talking to people and you're selling to people as well, right?
Yeah.
You got to be genuine because then you don't want to come off salesy, and people kind of catch on to that.
Yeah.
Like you know when like a guy says keeping the finances aside, like shut up.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so salesy, you know,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
so that the transfer of energy is so true. What he
Yeah.
said, like if you're coming from a spot where you can actually help people,
Mhm.
then it shows,
Mhm.
and it is the money and everything flows automatically. You don't really have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess my next step, well, not step, but next question would be like what was the first skill you learned when it came to like entering business and this entire entrepreneurship field?
That's good.
Oh, I would say like the number one thing was to make yourself as valuable as possible.
Right.
Like make yourself like completely irreplaceable
Right.
in anything. Like and I started learning that when I worked like my first restaurant job. Like I remember my dad being like, I get that you work at a restaurant, but like be like the best server they could ever
Yeah.
do. Like
Yeah.
make it like that if you ever left, like they would hurt, like that you
Right.
left. And like, okay, like you're pouring like drinks and you're like getting catch ups. Like it doesn't really matter. But it's like, but he's like, but make yourself as valuable as possible in anything you ever do.
100%.
And I've always done that with like every job I've had. And then moving into like every company I've ever had. Cause I wanted to be in a place where it's like, this wouldn't work without me.
Right.
And like selfishly, I just wanted to be like,
Yeah,
like
I'm the man.
I'm the man. Like
Yeah.
it was so good. But I would say, yeah, like making yourself valuable. And it doesn't mean you have to like, I don't know, like, yeah, you can like go above and beyond, but I think it's more just like seeing the opportunities in places that like other people aren't seeing.
Right.
Or like, I don't know, a lot of people, like even like a restaurant job, everybody's like, well, I'm getting paid like, I don't know, minimum wage. Like, I don't care. I'm not paid to care.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get that. But also, like, if you have that mindset, I will beat you every time. Like if
Exactly.
you have that mindset that you're like, oh, I'm getting paid like $19 an hour, why would I care about like helping them like get more clients or helping them do this? It's like, well, okay, you can stay in that mindset and I'm going to care. Like I'm going to make it that this company can't function without me. And it's like it sounds like such a dramatic mindset to have if you're like a server, but it's like no, seriously, like I would rather like I want to like I'll if you think that being a server is like oh, $19 whatever, like okay, I'm going to be the best server I can possibly be. I'm going to make it that they want to schedule me every night. They're like when's Jade working again? Like let's do this. I don't know, like I think making yourself valuable is like the number one thing you
Okay.
can do.
I
Right.
think that does make a difference as well because same wavelength.
Mhm.
My mom when I was really young, I was like, Mom, what if I want to not do too much with life, and what if I just want to become a barber?
Mhm.
And she was like, well, you can do that, but I'd want you to be the best barber out there.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter what you do as long as like you're the best at what you do, which is basically making yourself
Yeah.
irreplaceable. You'll do just fine because the
Mhm.
money will
Exactly.
come, right? It's not about just chasing money. And this is something that I've had to kind of reevaluate with myself because I would say I was pretty money minded until like recently,
Mhm.
wherein I was like, okay, sure, like I want money, but like now I have to figure out how I want it because what do I want to be sacrificing to get that?
Yeah.
Right.
And if I'm making the sacrifice for doing something that I love,
Mhm.
it'll just make that whole process a lot easier
Mhm.
and a lot more genuine because
Mhm.
you're absolutely right. People do feel your energy when you're like serious about something versus when you're like,
Mhm.
people can tell when you're like not that into it, like, and that's with every aspect of life, school, gym,
Absolutely.
anything, right?
Absolutely.
Everything.
And that was actually pretty amazing. No, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, I have a question for
Guys.
you, right? No, I mean this is your podcast,
Yeah.
so please, yeah,
Yeah.
brag all you want. But let's say you had to start from scratch.
Mhm.
All you had was $500 in your bank
Mhm.
account. What would you do right now, as of today, to get to where you want to be in the future?
And you're a 20-year-old.
Okay.
And you're 20.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
I feel like I would, this might not be like the most glamorous answer, but I feel like I would probably like think about, I feel like I would, I'm such a big like whiteboard person. I feel like I would stand in front of my whiteboard and like write out every skill I know I'm capable of.
Okay.
And then like what that skill solves for somebody else.
Okay.
And then figure out of those what I like really would like want to do, like which one would be like, okay, like I could see myself like building websites because that helps somebody who wants to own a company but isn't like tech inept or like whatever. And I feel like I would totally start with like a Fiverr or like an Upwork type of like
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Like I would be like, okay, like I'm just gonna go on Fiverr and I'm gonna like sign myself up to be like a, I don't know what the word is, the person you hire like
Right.
on Fiverr.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I would just start building like have a Fiverr account and just get employed and do one-off jobs from people
Yeah.
until eventually I build that up, and then I can eventually start like a agency or a something that is specific to solving that problem.
Okay.
But I would only do it in a way where I only ever solve one problem.
Okay.
Like if like I don't know, let's say somebody was like, say it was website building and I built websites for people.
Yes.
And then say like you guys hired me and you're like build the podcast a website and I was like great, no problem. And then you were like, "Oh, can you do the marketing too?" I'd be like, "No." Like I would only do like just one problem at a time
Okay.
because I feel like when you start to like when you chase two things, like when you like my dad always is like when you chase two rabbits you catch nothing. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
It sounds better when he comes out in his South African accent. But he's like I always just think like you got to solve one problem and just lean into it. And if I was doing it alone with like $500, I would totally do like a Fiverr website. I would do it in like the most minimal way because there's no like I don't know. I feel like when people, especially like when you start a company, it's super exciting,
Right.
and you put a lot more money into it than you need to. I
Yes.
mean, I
Oh,
spent
yeah.
like $20,000 in crystals in like a week. Like, um,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, okay, like it kind of paid off, but I still have a whole room full of crystals that I need to like get rid of somehow.
right.
But I feel like people just like overexert themselves right away and they spend a bunch of money on ads and they spend a bunch of money doing a bunch of stuff when you haven't learned anything yet about
Absolutely.
like running a company. And then you look like you totally look back later and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have like I get why those ads didn't work now,
Right.
or I get why that like marketing didn't work, or like why the clients I was getting like weren't the right people for
Yeah.
me, because you look back and you're like, oh, I was learning so much. But I think when you start, you're so naive that you're doing everything right because
Right.
you're excited
Yeah.
that you're like, oh,
It's that
everything's
adrenaline of like starting something new and you go all
Yeah.
in and then like you burn out like once you have everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or the minute you have like one thing that
One good
doesn't go
thing.
your way,
Yeah.
you're like, oh
Yeah.
my god, this whole thing sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's why I would totally start with like something like small where it's like, okay, it's Fiverr, or Fiverr or Upwork, where like people are paying you for one-off jobs, and then you start to develop like, okay, I actually don't like building websites, but I really do like running people's online ads for them.
Yes,
Okay, I'll
right.
do that instead. And it gives you the flexibility to learn what you're good at.
Mhm.
And if your thing isn't like, I don't know, if you were like, that's just for myself because I have a lot of like online service skills. But if I was going to do anything with $500, I would do a service-based business before a product-based business,
Okay.
That's
because I think
interesting.
product takes a lot more work.
Takes a lot more
100%.
capital.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
it takes
Yeah.
capital.
it does, and it also just like there's a lot more convincing and marketing psychology around selling a product to somebody than selling somebody your service,
100%.
because people buying people is a lot easier than people buying product.
Because
Absolutely.
it's like the Alex Ramosi rule, right? Like, just make yourself, like, sure, your skill might be worth like $10,
Hmm.
but if you position yourself in a position where you're like
It's all gonna-
selling it for like 100,
Yeah.
you're making a killer. Out of, like,
Absolutely.
whatever
Yeah.
your skills are worth.
Yeah.
Like I'm curious, so like with the $500 with that you have to
Mhm.
start off with, right? Like here's my thinking. I would go and get like a mentor and like I don't know, sales, marketing, whatever you want to do,
Mhm.
and then kind of shadow them, and then
Mhm.
through their network or something, I
Yeah.
could, get placement. Like I don't know, what's your take on that?
I feel like I would totally reach out. Like if let's just like say it was website building. I'll just keep that going. I would reach out to every person I know who like oh wait, I would totally do this. I would do
Yes,
the whole
okay.
Upwork and Fiverr thing because like you just put yourself online and it's a platform that already has a bunch of people going to it. So I wouldn't really market online. Like I wouldn't spend any of it on ads, I think, because there's a million people who do websites. Why would somebody choose me?
Yeah.
Like I would definitely try and make an offer that that solves a specific problem that I haven't seen other website builders solve. Like I
Right.
would find a new, unique way of building sites
Mhm.
that isn't something that like is regularly offered, which makes me unique in that space already. And then I would talk like I would go through everybody I know and everybody who knows somebody and like do a bunch of reach out to all those people about building them a new
Right.
website with this like new unique like take or style or like
Right.
new thing that I'm solving for them.
Yeah.
And do like just really use the network that I already know of people. And even if and then I'm personally the person who would like, okay, I'm gonna go to drive to like let's just say downtown Vancouver and literally park and just walk like blocks and blocks and blocks and go into every business that's there and ask them if they need a new website. I mean, in a better wording than that.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
I would totally like go back to being like an in-person marketer
Right.
Yeah.
versus like trying to do it online. Because even though I'm selling an online service, it's really hard to be unique online,
Yes.
specifically if you're just doing website building.
Mhm.
Because what like stops them from like I don't know, going with some big agency or somebody who has like hypothetically like 500,000 jobs already done on Fiverr and I have like zero. And then they're like, why would I
Right.
go with like Jade? Like she's done nothing. Like
Right.
I don't know, I feel like I would just use everybody I know. I would like talk to as many businesses as I possibly could in the area. I would go and do it in person because nobody likes getting a spammy phone call about being
100%,
like, you
yeah.
need a new website. They'd be like, okay, I don't care. But I think if they like met me in person and I talked to them, it'd be a totally different connection. Um, yeah, and then I would just I don't know. Definitely think the best thing about it is just finding a unique position in the market that isn't being offered
Right.
and then offer that. I don't know what
I
it would be, but something.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree more. So actually, kind of like gym launch. You went in person
Yeah.
and kind of scale it up from there, right?
Mhm.
So you go in person, you kind of pitch your product or
Mhm.
service to the business owner
Yeah.
and take it from there.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I totally believe that. I think that's the best way to do right now
Mhm.
if you're starting out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
so too, but I came across this Indian I wouldn't say influencer, this Indian I
business.
forget his name, business owner. Yes,
Yeah.
he just moved out to Argentina because he scaled his business up to like 50,000 a month.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
So he's just living in Argentina
nice
now,
life.
working with his business partners,
Mhm.
He's killing it. And he made a video that really, well, stuck with me, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. So he started off by saying, okay, you don't have a website. I'll build it for free,
Mhm.
but and I'll give you the website, so I'll give you access to it. But the maintenance fee every month would be $100.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, okay, that's a cool business model. And it's similar to what you were talking about.
Oh wait. Pause.
Okay, yeah, so just tell me, no, sorry. So, yeah, just tell me about the business model, about what you think about it. Do you see any like inherent flaws, maybe something you would do differently?
I feel like so for somebody who wants to build a website and then do like maintenance around it, um, I think they would have to be like there would have to there's a lot of upfront time on like your end to like build all those websites
Yeah,
and like the evaluation of your time versus that like $1,200 you're making a year.
yeah,
It's like okay, well, it makes sense when you have like a large capacity of clients you're doing
yeah,
it for.
yeah,
But if anything, I would just have I don't know, like I feel like there'd be a way where you should have like a team that you can outsource all the website builds to.
yeah,
Um, and you'd have to have like really specific things in place of being like you don't do a lot of like custom work around them because I feel like the minute somebody's like, well, my website needs to be like 28 pages and like include all these things,
hmm,
it's going to be more of a headache for you than the $100 is worth.
yes.
But I feel like there could be scenarios where you just like,
But the hundred
I don't
dollars
know.
that was just like an example. So like
Yeah.
the business model is like it's a subscription business model
Hmm.
essentially, right? Over like you just pay an upfront fee and that's it. Like we're done.
Hmm.
Like no more clients. So yeah, just the whole subscription model. Where do you think that could work? Where do you think that couldn't work? Stuff like that,
Oh, I think that subscription models are like the best model you could do. Like if
Mhm.
right?
you're gonna do any kind
Recurring
of like
revenue.
Recurring
service-based,
revenue, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're gonna do any like and especially models that don't like the subscription's there, but it doesn't rely on your like time and effort every time they reset
Mhm.
every time it like renews.
Yes.
Like even for us, like we do a like we yeah we like build websites and we do like a maintenance like we do like a call once a month with clients for their website and then there's like a maintenance fee like every month to like
Mhm.
make the edits they want and like do all like the little like we do like little tinkering on their
Right.
site like monthly, but then that becomes like recurring revenue. Or like for us owning like a software platform, like we own that CRM platform. Anybody who has an account in there like pays us $200 a month to be just to be a member and have
Right.
access to it, which does nothing for us. Like, okay, no, we get paid,
Yeah.
but we don't have to do anything
Right.
for them to be like a subscriber to our CRM, basically. But I think subscription models are super strong as long as they actually give the right
Value.
amount of value for the price that the person's paying. Because if our CRM was like, I don't know, $7,000 a month,
Yeah.
someone would be like, okay, but like, what's the $7,000 worth of value for me?
Yeah.
But at 200, it's like, oh, I'm getting more than what I need for $200.
Yeah.
So I think it's just making sure you evaluate like price as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, man, I'm curious, like, what advice would you like really give to like people who are watching at home right now, people who just want to be where you're at right
Mhm.
now? You may be 16, 17, kind of figuring stuff out, high school graduates,
Mhm.
wondering what to do.
10, bro. She was like 10 going through it.
What?
Like,
10 years old, what?
yeah.
Maybe.
Like, that's not even midlife crisis. That's like
That literally is
Childhood
like
crisis.
mid-childhood
yeah.
crisis. Not
But
feeling successful.
yeah,
at 10.
what advice would you give them?
I feel like the number one thing is like, I don't know, I'm a big believer in if like there's two things that I like always do. If you don't ask, you don't know. Like always take any type of like opportunity you can, even if you don't think you're qualified to do it.
Mhm.
Like if I never asked that guy if I could like like mentor with him, I would have never had like any of like the career path that I have now. Or like I don't know, like there's been so many like scenarios where like I was working in my job and I like was like, you know what? I actually think I deserve to be paid more. Like I want to ask you paid more. Like if you don't ask, the worst thing they can do is say no.
Yes.
Or hypothetically, if somebody says no and like say it was for like a raise and then they're like, oh, like okay, and then somehow like you get fired, then you just weren't meant to be there.
Right.
Like I think it's like a huge like if you don't ask, you don't know. And the same kind of thing is like if you don't try, you don't know.
Exactly.
A big one for me too is my biggest advice is like whatever you're not like changing, you're choosing. I hugely believe in that.
True.
That like if you're like a consistent complainer about like, oh, I don't have money, or like, oh, I don't know what to do with my life, or I don't like my friends suck, my influences suck, blah blah blah. But you choose to do nothing about it, it's like, okay, well, like you actually have no right to complain because you're choosing everything that's happening in your life. Like you are in full control. That like I don't know, it's like somebody who like complains about like not being fit, but then
Right.
chooses to like do nothing about it and not be active and like eat really crappy food. It's like, okay, well, like honestly, you have no right to complain because you choose exactly what you're doing.
Exactly.
True. I agree. I
I don't
agree.
know. Those are like my big two that like everything I do, I'm like, if I'm not changing it, I'm choosing it. And if I don't ask, I don't know. Like, I was like, I really want to be an author, but I was like, okay, but I'm literally like, okay, but if I don't start writing a book, I choose every day to not hit that goal.
Yes.
But every day that I choose to start writing, it's like, okay, like I'm on that
Right.
path. Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, I guess my next question would be what's next for Jade? Like,
Oh, I don't
yeah.
there's there like might be like a 4-year plan of my life kind of right now, I guess. It's a loose plan because I don't think you can ever plan like so like strictly because then you also like limit yourself to like new opportunities or new ideas. Like it needs to be flowing. But I think like next our franchises launch in March, which is a
Right.
huge thing for us. We launched 3 handyman franchises in Vancouver, and then me and my 2 partners are then going to launch our 4th, our 5th, our 6th, our 7th till we have 12.
Mhm.
And we have a huge goal about one of my biggest things that I really want to do is help young people figure out like I don't know what the right wording is for it, but like just to think differently. Like yeah, like same thing that we were talking about too, where it's like helping young people to like realize that there's other ways that they can
Mhm.
do things. And if they have these goals or visions or dreams and ambitions that they want to do, like they can do them. They just need to be around the right influences and be given the opportunities to do those things. So I've always wanted to help young people in their
Right.
20s, I guess, like do that. I don't exactly know how, but me and my partners have a really interesting, really cool idea for how to do that kind of 3 years from now because like it isn't something that we can do now that yeah, it's like in the works. It's kind
Okay.
of our secret plan that will like It'll be out there one
Stay
day.
tuned for that.
Stay tuned. But I think it's like a completely new business model I've never seen somebody else do, specifically for 20-year-olds, which I think is super
That'll
cool.
be exciting.
So we
That's
kind of have
exciting.
like a new company that we want to launch 3 years from now. But
That's awesome.
we just know it's not the time to do it now.
That's
And
Yeah.
I'm
that's
excited for that,
fantastic, yeah. And yeah, how can people reach out to you if they want to scale their companies
Oh.
or
I think
Shout out.
just Instagram. Like I think
Instagram?
it's just Jade Sprake. Like
Yeah.
that's primarily where I live.
link in the bio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it right in.
No, 100%.
But yeah, and if you guys want to get a book, it's on Amazon, and yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I personally enjoyed it, and yeah, if you guys want a signed copy now, I could potentially make that happen for
Yeah.
you,
So
lot.
coffee would go crazy.
So
yeah.
I've never signed a copy of my book. That'd be
Yeah,
kind of cool.
Actually, I do
First
want
time
to
for
do it.
everything.
Yeah,
First
first
time
time
for
for
First
everything.
signature ever given out
Yeah.
ever.
So yeah, we'll do it after the podcast on
Oh.
social media. But yeah, thank you for hopping on the podcast.
Great.
It's a pleasure, meeting
I
you.
loved it.
It was
And,
great having you. Yeah.
It was great
Yeah.
to meet you guys too. First podcast ever.
Yeah, and
That's
Awesome.
crazy. Yeah.
and potentially we'll do a part 2 as well, maybe a couple of months from now.
3
And
years.
yeah,
3 years from now,
3
new
years from
company
now.
launch.
New
that'll
company
that'll
launch, yeah.
part- that'll be
You
like
guys
part
own the
4.
exclusive
Part
rights to
four.
Yeah.
hearing about it.
Yeah. We get the inside sauce.
You get the inside scoop.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you for coming. And
Yes.
yeah, you guys
100%.
can find her on her Instagram. It'll be link in bio.
Yeah. Anyways, take care, guys.